What's the word? 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 What's the word on that movie? What's the word? 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 What's the word on that movie? What's the Word on That Movie can be found on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube. Other platforms coming soon as well as video. Twitter handle is at What's the Word on 2. First letters of each word capitalized, and yes, that is the number 2. Instagram is What's the Word on That Movie, all lowercase, no spaces. And Snapchat is What's the Word on That Movie. What's has an apostrophe S, and the first letter of each word is capitalized. And each word is spaced out, or try Lawrence Media 1, all lowercase, no spacing. And yes, that is the number 1. YouTube is What's the Word on That Movie. Each word is spaced out with caps at the beginning of each word, and What's has the apostrophe S. My question for you is, can you keep a secret? Well, we will find out if two strangers can do just that in this film. As a matter of fact, the secrets of these two will bring them closer together than they first imagined. Welcome to this week's episode of What's the Word on That Movie. Today's movie is titled Can You Keep a Secret? And it stars Alexandria Daddario and Tyler Hoechlin. I am your host, Daniel Lawrence. Let's get to it. I really enjoyed the soundtrack to this film, very upbeat and moves the movie right along with a joyous spirit. As I watch the opening sequence, I am caused to think about Daria. You know that TV show on MTV? Man, I really enjoyed Daria, and I missed that show. Anyways, movie begins in an office with employees going about their mundane processes, and some narration from our main character, Emma. Cutting to Emma, she is sitting at a table with two gentlemen. They tell her they don't like her prices. She states, well, I don't price anything. She states she has 2 points to make. She stands and pitches her product. While pitching her product, which happens to be an energy drink, unknowingly to her that she is flailing her arms around as she presents, she sets the energy drink down and opens it. It spews all over the two guys and herself. Later, she is sitting in a bar having a phone call, speaking about how she has truly screwed up her meeting, and her chances of a promotion have been shot. A flight attendant overhears, and later while Emma boards the plane, that same flight attendant offers her a first-class seat. A very young, handsome man sits down next to her. As she will learn later, he happens to be her boss, the top dog. Anyways, the plane experiences some turbulence, and she begins spilling her guts in panic that she is about to die. Well, after landing, the handsome man interrupts her and tells her the plane has landed, and the turbulence stopped about 30 minutes ago. She asks, why didn't you tell me? Well, he states, it seemed like you had a lot to get off your chest. After getting off the plane, she is picked up by her very awkward boyfriend, Connor, and we cut to the next morning with her boyfriend watching her sleep, saying really creepy things like he would die in her arms. He sleeps with a shirt but no pants, which I find really weird. They are co-workers as well, we find out. While at work, she learns the head honcho is coming into the office. Her boss asks her about pouring a can of Panda energy drink on the guy she was pitching the product to earlier in the movie, and Emma explains it just got shook up during her presentation. So Jack Harper appears, and Jack and Emma recognize each other. He asks Emma's boss, who is this girl, and her boss introduces them. Emma will not look directly at him. He asks her questions like, how's the coffee here? Which the movie cuts back to the plain scene of Emma saying the coffee is completely awful. But then cutting back to the present, she states it's wonderful. Later, she walks into Jack's office and states because she didn't know who he was, she should not be penalized. Then she asks for him to not fire her. He asks her to not tell anyone he was in Chicago. The keeping of secrets begins here. They are both dying with each other's secrets. He asks her if she really has never been in love. Later, Emma gets home to tell her roommate, Lissy, some news. She tells Lissy the guy from the plane showed up at work today and that he is the top guy of the company. She tells Lissy, I told him everything about me. Lissy says, so what? He knows everything about you. They talk about Emma moving in with Connor and that she isn't digging Connor anymore. Lissy gives her some advice to spice things up, to reignite the passion. The next day at work, the awkwardness between Jack and Emma continues. Jack is going to be observing the team's daily work processes. He asks the staff to ignore him. He is just a fly on the wall, wanting to learn how the company works day to day. Off is still dead silent. He asks if it's always that quiet, and he brings up the point when him and his former partner were building the company. They were always talking and communicating with each other about what they were watching, reading, or doing. So a conversation begins in office about books being read. He then turns to Emma and asks what she is reading. Flashback to the plane. She says she was trying to read Great Expectations, but she just couldn't get through it, so she simply read the back cover. But in office, she says how great the book was. Soon after, the work friend Casey enters the office and says to Emma in front of Jack, "Hey, I need your help running the numbers." Cutting to the plane, she tells Jack when Casey comes and says, "Let's run the numbers," it means let's go get coffee and talk about life. She tries to opt out of going with Casey, but Jack insists that her and Casey go run the numbers as he thinks she needs a break. While on a coffee break, her friend asks if Jack could possibly know that they were not actually running numbers. Elevator opens. There stands Jack. Casey says he will take the stairs after Jack asks, "How are those numbers?" Emma takes the elevator with Jack. Jack tells her him and his partner used a code name for a file when they chose to shoot the proverbial. Emma's boyfriend then boards the elevator and introduces himself to Jack. Jack asks her boyfriend about the interaction between him and Emma at work, and he immediately states, "Oh, it's no problem. When they're at work, they are nothing." He tells Jack he is on his way to his meeting in which he will be presenting new data, and Jack says, "I'm headed to your meeting also." The elevator opens and Jack invites Emma to the meeting. After the meeting, Jack asks Emma if her boyfriend is the one, and she says, "I know what you are thinking, and you are wrong." Jack smiles and says, "Are you sure? Are you trying to convince me or yourself?" After Emma texts her boyfriend to meet him in the archive room, she plans on rekindling the passion, but he refuses to be part of her workplace shenanigans. In his refusal, she realizes she doesn't want to be with him, and she breaks up with him. Back at home, her roommate tells her that you and Connor could have been a perfect couple if you guys just stayed together. Emma refutes this statement, and her roommate says all perfect couples are unhappy, but they stay together. Emma believes maybe they shouldn't. Next day at work, Emma blackmails a guy into getting her idea in a newspaper ad. Her boss then tells her Jack needs the Leopold file in his office, which is the code for, "Hey, come shoot the proverbial bull with me." Emma actually takes the time to make a Leopold file. Talk about an overachiever. Anyways, he tells her he heard her and Connor broke up. She says she is fine and that it will be good to be single. He states it may not be the best time to ask, and then stumbles over the words to ask, in which she blurts out, "Date?" Then he asks and she agrees, and he agrees. Very, very awkward moment. She gets ready for her date, and since Jack is early, he suggests he just wait with her while she gets ready. She introduces him to her roommate Lissy and her dog Toots. Jack then checks out her room. She attempts to take Jack to a secret club, but discovers that club has either moved the location or disbanded. He suggests for him to call a car if she wants to find the club. However, he asks if she is hungry, and she states she is starving, so they grab a bite to eat, and he takes her to a very nice spot for them to sit down, eat, and talk. They almost kiss until it is interrupted by a phone call in which he mentions Plan B and going back to Chicago. She asks if everything is okay, and he says it's just complicated. He wants to tell her, but he says he can't. He tells her he wants to spend an evening with her, and that's what he is going to do. They do kiss. She says, "You could have any woman." He replies, "But yeah, I want you." And then he admits how douchey of a response that was. He then responds with a statement she first gave on the flight. She questions, "How can you remember everything I said on the plane?" And he states from the moment she first began speaking, he was whipped. The night ends on a passionate note, and then they lie in the bed sharing secrets and boosting each other's egos. He shares with her that he has syndactyly, and that it is only sometimes contagious, and she freaks out. He admits he was joking with her and says, "Just look." Lifting up the sheets, he shows her his foot. He was born with two toes stuck together, a two-headed toe as he calls it. Next day, she is talking to her roommates about how awesome Jack is, and her one roommate, Emma, states she should use her newfound relationship to get her promotion and that she is dating all wrong. Following immediately, a montage of dates between Emma and Jack begins. As time goes by, she realizes she is falling for him deeply, but he is constantly on his phone at times and never shares himself with her. She is in a relationship where she can fully share herself but isn't receiving that same feedback from her partner. After the montage, she enters her home, calling out to her roommate Lissy that she is in love. She asks if Jack has told her anything about himself. Emma hopes he will open up because she opened up first. While at work, Emma is called to come to the conference room. Jack is about to do an interview. Jack is interviewed, and one of the questions causes him to slip into thinking about Emma, and he describes her to a T, sharing her secrets on TV. Well, his description is enough for her coworkers to realize Jack is talking about Emma, and they make fun of her. Sad and broken up, she is comforted by her roommate Lissy, and then her other roommate, Gemma, walks out saying, "I told you so." Jack calls, and Emma lets him have it and hangs up. Her roommate Gemma states she should key his car or shred his suits to send him a message. Lissy suggests she tell one of his secrets instead. Emma admits he has syndactyly, but her roommate Gemma states that's a deformity and they can't make fun of that, and asks Emma if he has anything else. Emma says he didn't want her stating he was in Chicago. At a coffee shop, she sits with her friend Casey from work, and he attempts to be there for her. He acknowledges her strength because if he faced that sort of embarrassment, he would kill himself. Jack walks over, wanting to talk, and Emma opts to ignore him. Jack sits and tells Emma he is sorry. She explains she was humiliated. He continues to apologize. He tells her it really isn't that bad that people know those things about her. She confronts him on their one-sided relationship. She tells him she can't do this. She can't be the only one in the relationship. Later, she tells her roommates she saw Jack and that he pretty much said he was sorry, but he believes his secrets are more important than hers. Her roommate, Gemma, plans for Emma's revenge. She knows a reporter. The next day at work, Emma stands up for herself when a coworker tries to claim responsibility for her work. And then she stands up for herself and demands her promotion. She gets the promotion, but her coworkers believe it's all because she is sleeping with the boss man. Her boss calls her in for a meeting and asks if Jack forced the relationship. Her boss comforts her. She tells her boss that her and Jack met before she knew who he was. Her boss says the workplace for a woman is hard, and because of her relationship with Jack, everyone is going to say it's because you slept with the boss. But the truth is, you earned it. Later, at her roommate Lissy's dance performance, Jack appears and apologizes once more and tells her the reason he was in Chicago, and the importance of her not telling anyone now that she knows. They sit and rekindle their affection for one another while watching Lissy perform. After the show, her other roommate, Gemma, appears with a reporter who then questions Jack. This, of course, upsets Jack as he has just shared his secret with her and believes she has sold him out. She begs and pleads, but Jack turns and leaves, telling her to go finish her interview. Later, she is walking the same location her and Jack first sat down and began their romantic relationship. We then cut to Jack sitting on a plane. Emma shows up and apologizes, explaining what he means to her. Having to take her seat, Jack comes back to the coach seating where Emma is sitting and offers some of his secrets as well as offers the gentleman beside Emma his first-class seat. Jack sits and continues telling Emma his secrets, and then they kiss, and she tells him to just keep talking. Movie ends. This is a rom-com that will keep you sucked in from beginning until end. I give this film an A+ and encourage you to watch it. Once again, this is What's the Word on That Movie, and I am your host, your voice, Daniel Lawrence. Thank you for tuning in. What's the word? 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 What's the word on that movie? What's the word? 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 What's the word on that movie?